Good afternoon, George Cavaligos for HFT Bonds. Now it gets interesting. If you go back and look at an hourly chart on the bonds, and you'll see back on July, what was it, the 13th, we broke out of the top of that previous wedge that we had talked about. Market made a slightly higher high above the breakout of the wedge, and then came back into the wedge and then went down and made lower lows at that point. Well, we're doing the same thing right now. We broke out of the top of that bear flag that I talked about yesterday. Now we're back in the wedge. 135.16 was the reverse trend line. Went above it. Now we're back below it. I think that 135.16 level is going to be like a pivot area for me now. Small short going forward here. Market, obviously has been grinding higher. What are we up on day 8 since we put in the lows in the bonds and notes? I think in the bonds we're on day 5 of being higher, having green candles. I think 6 out of the 8 days since we put in the lows, the market's been higher. So I'd say we're a little bit overbought short term. I think we're going to go back and retest the lower boundaries of that wedge at this point now. And then we'll see if we break out of that wedge. That's the key point. On the hourly charts, if you're looking at the bond right now, that lower wedge, let's see, let me pull this chart up real quick here. And give me 2 seconds. I'm sorry, I should have had this prepared already. The lower boundaries of that wedge is down at 133.22. That'd be a nice short trade from here. I think you want to give the downside the benefit of the doubt here. I'm more inclined to not think we're going to break out of that wedge on the downside yet, but at least go and retest that support trend line off the lows on the bonds and notes here. And actually, the notes are back below that support trend line at this point. Oh no, not. Sorry, it's down around 126.20 area. Between 126.15 and 126.20. I don't want to pull that chart up right now, but just off the top of my head, that's where that channel is. We did the same thing there on the upside too. We tore a little bit above the trend line. It was around, I want to say 127.08 this morning. Now remember, it's going up. It's around 127.11 now. So I think you're looking at the market bouncing between 126.16 and 127.11 at this point on the 10-year, and we'll see how that works. See you, Tom. Tomorrow's Thursday. There is no Fed buyback again tomorrow. We get Chairman Bernanke in front of the Senate tomorrow. I don't think he's going to say anything different, but I think without the buybacks, the markets are going to have some struggles rallying here right now. I'm looking for a bit more downside, one step at a time. I think that's my favorite trade right now. Try to sell a pop. I think if we can get a pop back up towards 135.19.20 again on the bonds, back up towards 127, like 06, 08 on the notes, put some small shorts on there and see if we can go and test the lower boundaries of that trend line. I think it might be a good trade. Have a great night, guys. We'll see you tomorrow.